those pranams to everybody. Thank you so much to all the devotees, especially Soumya Prabhu, Premdata Prabhuji, for giving me this opportunity to glorify the name of the Lord. As we all know, I don't have any qualification to glorify the Lord or to go out or to take classes from Srimad Bhagavatam, but I'm attempting to do this again to somehow purify me, although it is not an easy process. So I really pray to all the devotees to bless me so that I will get the opportunity to speak something which will make sense to everybody. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So now we are moving to the 24th chapter in Canto 3. So in the last class, we heard so beautifully from Prabhu how nicely the lamentation of Devduti has happened. So as a continuation of that, I will get into this chapter where the name of the chapter is given as a renunciation of Kardama Muni. So here the context is the discussion which is happening between Maitreya Muni and Vidura, and he's explaining one by one what is happening. So that is the context which is going on here. So after the lamentation of Devahuti, Mother Devahuti, we will see that Kardama Muni has taken the decision to take a renunciation and move to the forest. So it's a very, very beautiful and elevated chapter because this is where the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is happening in the form of Lord Kapila. Man, that is explained very beautifully and very nicely. So again, it's a elevated and beautiful chapter. So what I intend to talk about is from the previous class. I don't think there is a need to recap, but I thought just to get remembrance for myself, a few points I have put in. Otherwise, Shankamani Prabhuji had taken the class so beautifully by connecting to so many practical things uh, in our daily devotional life. So I will just put in a few points for recollection. And then in the present class, which is from chapter, one second, just move this screen. Okay. So in this chapter, there are altogether 47 slokas. So in the beginning, from the first sloka to the fourth, Kardamuni is replying to Mother Devahuti. So in the last chapter towards the end, we saw that Mother Devahuti was lamenting because she felt that although she was associated with such an elevated personality as Kardama, she could not utilize that association in a proper way because she was more interested in the material activities. That is how she felt. Although that is her humble nature, because in the chapter we saw that how she served Kardama so well as a devotee of the Lord, and then how she was chaste and a completely faithful wife. But towards the end, after having progenies, etc., and when her husband is ready to leave her, and she realizes that probably she could not utilize the association with him in the right way. So she laments, saying that now that you are going to leave me, I did not spend my time to understand the topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I wasted my time. But here, Kardamani replies to Devahuti in a very beautiful way and then pacifies her and tells her that you are blessed because you are a very faithful and chaste person, and because of that, the Supreme Personality will be very happy with you. So that part we will see from first to the fourth sloka. And in the fifth and sixth sloka, again we will see that how faithfully Mother Devahuti accepts again the instructions of Kardama, and then because of that, the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters her womb as a Kapila. And here in seventh and eighth slokas, we will see the ecstasy or the happiness of the demigods due to the appearance of the Lord. And then from in ninth and tenth slokas, we'll see the appearance of Lord Brahma along with such elevated personalities like Marichi and other sages. They all come to the hermitage of Kardama. And then further up to the 20th sloka, Lord Brahma is giving instructions to Kardama and Devahuti what they are expected to do now. Again, as a very obedient disciple, Kardama Muni follows instructions of Lord Brahma in letter and spirit. Further, from 2069, Kardama Muni approaches his son Although the Supreme Lord has come in the form of his son, he understands him as the Lord himself, and then he glorifies him. So from 35 to 40 slokas, Lord Kapila is replying to Kardama Muni and then giving him instructions. And then towards the end, from 41 to 47 slokas, Kardama Muni takes realization and then finally attains the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So this is a complete chapter. It has altogether 47 slokas. A quick recap from the previous chapter, what we have seen there. So Devahuti, after her parents, the Swayambhu Manu and her mother brought her to Kardama and then left her there. And as we all know, she was brought up in a lot of opulence and then many facilities, being the daughter of Swayambhu Manu himself. And she had a extremely opulent life. But then here she decided to accept Kardama Muni as her husband, who is a mendicant who was living in the forest in a hermitage. And then after the departure of her parents, after leaving her with the Kardama, and it was mentioned that she did not give any importance to her own body or her own comforts. Whatever minimum facility she had in the hermitage of Kardama, living there with great love, with great respect and intimacy, and with always using very sweet words, she served her husband completely faithfully. So this is the first part of the previous chapter. And because of this respect and this love and this affection and all the services she bestowed on Kardama, he became very happy. And he was also very happy with all the austerities she was taken. So because of that, he became very satisfied, and then he promised that she will be or her all desires will be satisfied in a way. And then here, Devhuti also reminds her husband, being a very simple personality or a simple lady. That is how it is mentioned there in this chapter. She reminds Kardama about her desire to have children, and also for that purpose, she realized that her body is not suitable because of the service and austerities she has done. It became very unusable in a way, and the body has become very weak. And then she requests her husband to give her a better body and then also a very beautiful place of residence so that she can fulfill all her desires. So here it is mentioned that for a true devotee of the Supreme Lord, what is not possible, everything is very easily possible without any challenges. And then here it is mentioned that the aerial mansion he revealed to pleasure valley of Mount Meru. So immediately Kardama created a very beautiful place which was compared to the heavenly kingdom, and then all the facilities were provided to her wife for his wife, and then they lived extremely happily for many years. And then whatever uh, requirements or whatever requirements were there with the mother yeah, Devhuti, everything was satisfied in a very beautiful way by her husband. So after showing his five globe of the universe and a different arrangement, the great yogi Gautama Muni returned to his home. So once they enjoyed their life very beautifully in the special place created by him, it is decided that Kadma now will return to his own hermitage. There it is mentioned that he divided himself because of his yogic powers. He could satisfy again all the needs of his good wife Devahuti, and then he divided himself into nine different personalities. And it is mentioned that he, because of their association, she gave birth to nine charming daughters, and they were so beautiful. And then they had the fragrance of the lotus flowers. That is what it is mentioned there in a very nice way. So all the requirements or all the aspirations of Mother Devahuti was this way satisfied by her husband. And then now finally, after living with Mother Devahuti for many years and also meeting all her needs, and now time has come, as he had mentioned in the very beginning before the marriage to Devhuti, that he will not be able to live with her forever and take her. He will be leaving for the forest so that he can fulfill, or he can completely focus on the Lord and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the time has come now. So he decided that he will be leaving, he will not be continuing there. And now the mother Devahuti understands that the time of separation has come in, and she becomes extremely sad. Here, it's very beautifully mentioned. The reason for the sadness of her was not really the separation, but the major reason was how she could not utilize the time of association with Kardama in a very positive way, and then understand the topics of the Supreme Lord. So rather than doing that, she spent most of her time in satisfying her for her needs, or her bodily needs, or her the needs of the mind. So that is the reason for lamentation of Mother Devahuti mainly, not just the physical separation from her husband. So this is the understanding. So here a few takeaways from the last chapter, although it was much more beautifully explained by Shangwani Prabhuji. I had a couple of points I just tried to put here. The ideal example of the husband and wife relationship between Devhuti and Kardamamuni. So we see that this relationship of a husband and a wife is probably the most ideal one, as explained here in this chapter. And this is something which could be kind of followed in the even in the modern times, in this Kali Yuga, although it is not easy. So here we also see that the reciprocation of service and love. So the way here Mother Devahuti as the wife served Kardama Muni, and the same way of love is reciprocated by him also. So it is not that he was just fulfilling his own desires of serving the Supreme Lord, but being a true devotee or a pure devotee of the Lord, he was also extremely merciful, and he could reciprocate the same amount of love back to Mother Devahuti. And then towards the end of the chapter, what we understand is it's a lesson for all of us. Whenever there is an association with a devotee of the Lord, we should be able to use the time in the best possible way. So many times, even though we come in the association of devotees, we are not able to utilize the time to discuss and understand the Lord's Lordships in a better way. Many times, people like me, especially, we spend time in talking about the worldly matters and other things. And many times, when we realize it, we kind of feel dissatisfied and unhappy. So this is, I think, one very important takeaway from this chapter. The association with the devotees, even if they tend to be your own relatives in a worldly sense, but if you don't utilize that, then the utilization of time is not happened in the best way. So this is the understanding here. So now in the beginning of the 24th chapter, the first part which we see is the pacification of Mother Devahuti by Gautama. So this sloka here, the discussion is between Maitreya and Vidura. So Maitreya Muni is telling Vidura, Nirveda Vadinim evam mano durhitaram muni dayalum shalinim aha shukla bhivyahridam smaran. So here, recalling the words of Lord Vishnu, the merciful sage Kardama replied as follows to Swayambhuva Manu's praiseworthy daughter Devahuti, who was speaking words full of enunciation. So, as we saw in the last chapter, Mother Devahuti was speaking words full of enunciation. And then one important word which is mentioned here is merciful. So, like all the devotees, pure devotees of the Lord, Kardama was also very, very merciful. When his wife started lamenting about the lack of proper utilization of the association, he did not get angry or he did not ignore her, but rather than that, in his mind, he became very, very merciful towards her. And then he started saying about how this is not, I mean, how it is not that she just wasted her time. So this we will see very beautifully. So this is one quality of all the pure devotees of the Lord. how merciful they are in all circumstances. So in the next sloka, Kardama is telling Mother Devahudi, Makhido Rajaputri Tham Atmanam Prati Anandite Bhagavam Siksharo Garpham Adurasam Prapapsyade. So the sage is saying here, do not be disappointed with yourself, O princess. You are actually praiseworthy. The infallible Supreme Personality Godhead will shortly enter your womb as your son. So here the Lord, I mean, it's what we can see here is the confidence of a pure devotee. How somebody is able to tell his wife so confidently that the God, Supreme Personality of Godhead himself will come and then enter into the womb as your own son. So I don't think no husband in the world would have been able to say it so clearly to his wife, saying that you don't need to lament. Although if you feel that you are not able to utilize your time of association with me in the proper way, there is nothing to lament. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself has confirmed that He will appear as our Son and He will enter into the womb. I don't think there is anything better a person or a female could expect more than that. So that is the confidence of a pure devotee of the Lord, which we could see here. So further going ahead, here Kardama is giving instructions to Mother Devahudi. So here he is saying you have undertaken many sacred vows. So God will bless you. Hence you should worship the Lord with great faith through sensory control, religious observations, austerities and gift of your money in charity. So the first instruction here is you should worship the Lord with great faith. So the essence is the faith in the God, as we are taught by Srila Prabhupada. And important points which are mentioned here again as a requisite to be able to worship the Lord are control of senses and observances, religious observances required, and then also austerities and gifts. So in the purport, Prabhupada is mentioned, nobody will be able to associate or move towards or move in Krishna consciousness without being able to do charity. So our approach is the importance of charity is mentioned in this purport by Srila Prabhupada in a very beautiful way. So that is why Kardama is mentioning here. It is important that you give your money in charity away rather than amassing this. So many of these points come to our mind when we see many examples in this world. We all know that there is a very unfortunate incident happened with the crashing of the aircraft, which came as a big lesson. Although it was very heartbreaking to see how people are suffering, it is giving us a very strong. But if you see last few months in this material world, so many instances of war-like situation, uh, crashing of the aircraft, many murders done, etc., etc. So everything is indicating how this world is completely, how to say it, unstable, and like it is mentioned in the Shastras, padam padam yat vipadam. So every moment and every step we are taking in this material world, there is only danger awaiting for us. So I think these are all lessons probably the Lord is giving us as devotees or aspiring devotees like me, how we should be able to disassociate us with all the worldly needs and then try to or surrender to the Lord incomplete. And Prabhupada has emphasized here that giving away our amassed wealth and other things in charity is one most important aspect in this regard. Further, Kardama is telling the personality of Godhead being worshipped you by you will spread my name and fame because he is going to appear as my son, and he will vanquish the knot of your heart, Manogranthi, by becoming your son and teaching the knowledge of the Brahman. So, one important point again mentioned here is the Lord, Supreme Lord, will come and he will vanquish the knot of your heart. So, in the purport, Prabhupada mentions cutting of this knot, or which is mentioned as Manogranthi. It's a knot in the form of the mind, which is connected to this material world in the form of your own family, your wife, your children, etc. That is the connection. That is a knot which is extremely difficult to sever for a man. And that severing of that knot can happen only if the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will happen. Without his mercy, nobody will be able to sphere. So here we know that Kardama is such an elevated saint. So he himself could not manage to do that for his own good wife. So, but with the mercy of the Lord, he himself is going to appear in the form as in the form of our own son, and then he will give the knowledge of the Brahman. So, what is actually helping to disconnect the heart, or vanquish the knots of the heart is actually knowledge. The knowledge of the Supreme or the knowledge of the God or the Lord is the only way through which you will be able to disconnect this. Otherwise, we'll be continuously engaged in this material world and get more and more entangled in it. So here we see another extremely beautiful elevated pastime of the Lord, where he appears in the form of Rishabhadeva in this material world. And here he is giving instructions to his own son. So, Srimad Bhagavatam mentions that Rishabhadeva had 100 good children, and to teach the world, he is giving knowledge to his own son. He is mentioning that Yadha Mano Hridaya Granthir Asya Karmam Anubandha Trit Asleshada Tada Jana Samparivatte Smad Mukta Param Yata Ahiya Hetum. Adihya Hetum. So when the strong knot in the heart of a person implicated in material life due to the result of past action is slackened, one turns away from his attachment to home, wife, and children. Again, here it is mentioning is about the knot in the heart of a person, which is connection to his family, his wife, his children, etc. And when that knot is slackened, one will be able to basically disattach or detach from the home. In this way, one gives up the principle of illusion, I and mine, and becomes liberated. Thus, one goes to the transcendent world. So again, this particular topic comes in Srimad Bhagavatam in many instances where Lord Himself is trying to teach the whole world through His own example, where He's giving instructions to His own Son. And so this particular topic is also the most difficult one for a person, since we are all into family life and connected to our wives or children or our home all the time. Even at an old age, for a family person, this is the most difficult activity to achieve. And this is possible only through awakening the knowledge or the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So from this example, we see the ideal Grihastha life, how it should be done. So how Mother Devahudi served Kardama as her husband, and then as a result of that, how Kardama became very happy with her and reciprocated her come and then remove her. Example we could see in the Shastras is the example of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati had the same approach, where she was always serving the Lord with total faithfulness and all the virtues. Because here also we can see that Parvati Devi also came from a very opulent life, where she was the daughter of Daksha Prajapati herself, etc. But then she decides to spend her entire life with a personality like Lord Shiva, whether he has completely renunciated and he had nothing personally. In fact, he didn't did not even possess a proper nice dress to wear. That was the level of enunciation of Lord Shiva. But in spite of that, Mother Parvati served him faithfully throughout, which is even continued. So this is another beautiful example we could see from the Shastras. So the relation between Kardama and Devahudi serves as a model for all the couples, as we mentioned already earlier. And and in this way, the ultimate aim of spiritual progress or attainment of the Supreme Personality of Godhead could be achieved if we are able to focus in this way. And further, we see that again, being a very faithful wife, now the second set of instructions came from Kardamudi, how she should worship the personality of Godhead. This is completely accepted by Mother Devahudi, and then very faithfully and respectfully she go into the worship. So she began to worship the Master of the Universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as mentioned here, who is situated in the heart of all of us all the time. Here, one important point for us to understand is what is the role of Kardama Muni. Although Kardama was her husband and also managed to fulfill all the aspirations of his wife in a very beautiful way, but here Kardama is assuming the role of a spiritual master of Devahuti. So the emphasis is again that without the help, without the support, or without the instruction of a spiritual master, nobody will be able to achieve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as we all know that this is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, tad vidhi pranibhatena pariprashnena sevaya upatekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. So if you want to, how to say it, grow in Krishna consciousness on the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you have to approach a spiritual master, and then the approach should be in a very submissive and in a way to serve the spiritual master. So then in that case, the self-realized souls will be able to impart knowledge because they have understood the supreme truth or the supreme personality of Godhead. So here we can see Mother Devahudi had the same approach. She, although she saw her husband as her own, but she could also worship him faithfully as if a disciple is worshipping his spiritual master. So because of that, she got the proper direction and she could move in the right direction to achieve the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So with this, the Supreme Lord is entering the womb of Mother Devahuti. Tasyam bahutithe kale Bhagavan Madhusudana Kardamam Viryamapanno Yajñekir Iva Daruni. So here it is mentioned that after a long time or many, many years, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Madhusudan, the killer of the demon Madhu, having entered the semen of Kardama, appeared in Devahudi just as fire comes from wood in a sacrifice. So Prabhupada mentions that the fire is always present in the wood. It is not that it is coming as a new thing. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present in the heart of every living entity as Paramatma. But here he decided, because of his causeless mercy towards the devotee, he decides that he will appear through this Heman of Kardama and then appear in the womb of Devahudi, somewhat similar to what we see in this material world. But Prabhupada remains here that we should not wrongly think that Lord took birth like an ordinary child in this material world with the association of a father and mother. But this was different. He decided to do that only because of the causeless mercy he had for his pure devotees. So here we can see the example of Lord Narasimha Deva also, because there the Lord decided to appear in a different way. So there when the devotee said that my Lord is present everywhere, and then when the demon asked whether he is present even in a pillar, and the Lord had to fulfill the desire or the words of the devotee, so he appeared from the pillar. Similarly, we can see in Bhagavatam in many, many, many pastimes, Lord has appeared in so many different ways just to fulfill the desire of his pure devotee and to protect the devotee. So this is the mood of the Supreme Personality of Godhead everywhere. Now further we see that by seeing that now the Lord is about to appear and he has already entered the womb of Mother Devahudi, the demigods became extremely happy, and then the demigods, they started flying in the sky freely around, and in all the directions they were sprinkling holy waters, and then this satisfied all the people around who had the fortune to have this beautiful appearance of the demigods. So what we understand from this particular mood of the demigods is that the devotees of the Lord, they do not leave any chance, or they do not waste any chance to celebrate the presence of Lord. This we can see even in this world today. Like in our own temple, we see that any opportunity we get to celebrate the opportunities or the pastimes of the Lord, we are doing it continuously. So we had the Snan festival, which just happened a couple of days back in the temple, and in spite of such a heavy rain on that day, many of us had the great opportunity to relish the Abhishekam of the Lord, and then the other activities which happened there. So we see that this mood, fortunately, with the blessing of Srila Prabhupada and our Gurudev, we are able to continue this particular mood like the demigods are showing here. Now, further, it is explained what is the purpose of appearance of the Lord. Although the Lord is appearing mainly to protect the devotee and as per the to satisfy the devotee's needs, he also has a plan for the entire world. So it is mentioned the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his quality of pure existence has appeared in the womb of Devahuti just to explain the complete state of knowledge known as Sankhya Yoga. So he is the propounder or of Sankhya Yoga philosophy. So again, Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport that there is also a Kapila Muni who appeared later in the world, who is described as an atheist. He talks about a Sankhya philosophy, which is uh, which is kind of famous in the material world today, and in a way, indirectly, is kind of proposing atheism there, because it is only talking more about the usage of intelligence there. So Prabhupada again and again in many places has repeatedly said that the devotee should not mistake the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Kapila to be this Kapila Muni. So that is mentioned there. So the Sankhya philosophy is compiled, actually, the original Sankhya philosophy is compiled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Kapila. And Kapila, the son of Kardamani, which is why this is repeated again and again, that son of Kardamani is because to ensure that nobody is getting confused between the what do you call it, the Muni who appeared later and then confused as an atheist. So very explicitly explain not only the material world but also spiritual world. So here it is mentioned through his Sankhya system, Lord Kapila explained how a material life has to be addressed. But in addition to that, very clearly he is explaining also the spiritual world and how the spiritual world is, and with an aim to attract all the conditioned souls in this material world. That is also mentioned in this sloka. Now, moving ahead, by the time when the Supreme Personality is arriving in this material world, it's also mentioned that all his associates will also naturally hear. So, to facilitate the understanding of Kardama and his wife, mother, here, Lord Brahma also appears. He also comes along with other saints, such as Marichi, to the hermitage or the place where Kardama was living. So after arriving the Lord Brahma, he worshipped the Supreme Lord. It is mentioned here that with glandan senses, so his senses were very satisfied, and he had a pure heart, and he spoke to Kardama and Mother Devahuti in the following way. So here it is mentioned that this question may come up. What is the qualification of Lord Brahma to come to this material world when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is about to take appearance? Here it is mentioned he is the first living entity and the liberated soul. So Lord Brahma, as we all know, that the first living entity who appeared, and in a way he did not take a birth, but he appeared from the lotus from the navel of Lord Vishnu, and then he is also known as a liberated soul. So in this purport, Prabhupada again mentions that how to understand Lord Brahma as a liberated soul. So Bhagavad Gita mentions as Janma Karma Chame Dityam Evam Yo Veti Tattvada Tektva Deham Punarjanma Naiti Mameti Sorjuna. So Bhagavad Gita says in the fourth chapter that a person who has understood the transcendental activities, the appearance and the disappearance of Supreme Personality of Godhead is should be considered to be a liberated personality. So Lord Brahma, because of this reason, since he understands the science of Krishna, since he understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is to be considered as a liberated soul. So Lord Brahma is a liberated soul, and that is his qualification to come over to this material world before the or about when the Lord is about to appear, and then give proper instructions to the associated personalities what to do and how to behave. So that is explained here nicely. Also here, further it is understood that Lord Brahma is very, very pleased with Kardama Muni. Why? Because uh, Kardama had faithfully served Lord Brahma. We all know that Kardama already was a liberated personality, or his understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead was very, very high. So it was not that like normal human beings, he wanted to associate with the opposite gender and give and lead a very happy life in this material world. But he did all these activities. He married Mother Devahudi just to satisfy or to follow the instructions which was given by Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma, although his father also is a is spiritual master. And it is mentioned here that a disciple should be able to accept the orders of the spiritual master, and he should take it as his life and soul. So Lord Brahma bestows his mercy here we can see, and if through which we understand that when the spiritual master is happy, we naturally we will the Supreme Personality of Godhead will be happy. So we also see it this particular stanza Yasya Prasada Bhagavad Prasado Yasya Prasada Nagado Kutopi. So without the happiness, without the satisfaction of the spiritual master, we will never be able to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here the best example, who else than our Guru Maharaj, Srila Jayapada Swami Guru Maharaj, who entirely dedicated his life and his soul and then put all his capabilities to satisfy his spiritual master Srila Prabhupada. And we know that he stands so tall in this material world, and then he continue to put in all his efforts in spite of his difficult physical condition, instruct and inspire every one of us how one should be able to dedicate his everything to serve the orders of the spiritual master. So here are a few things mentioned here by Srila Prabhupada. A conditioned soul, what is its nature in this material world? He has many disqualifications, or mainly these four disqualifications. So he has this he has this propensity to commit mistakes all the time, and he's a illusioned all the time, and there is a propensity to cheat others, and then the senses of a human being in this world is imperfect. So these are the four disqualifications or limitations of a living entity. And then it is mentioned, if one carries out the orders of the spiritual master who is in this disciplic succession or in the parampara system, is able to overcome these four defects. So in a way, by serving the supreme the spiritual master, anybody will be able to overcome these four limitations or the four disqualifications, and by overcoming these disqualifications only, one will be able to move in the direction of Krishna consciousness, or in the direction of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead in a proper way. Then this obedience or surrender to how to say it, cement this Supreme Personality of Godhead has shown it so many different ways. And in the life of Lord Krishna, we all know that how he was completely obedient to his spiritual master, Sandipani Muni. So Prabhupada mentions in this particular sloka that one should obey the command of his father or spiritual master with a due deference, saying, "Yes, sir." So very interestingly mentioned that whatever orders coming from the father or the spiritual master, we should never even think about it. We should not apply our limited intelligence to see whether it is right or wrong. I think this is one of the most difficult things, especially when we consider our own fathers. There is a tendency, when I am looking into my own life, how, especially when we become young, how we tend to, have our own aspirations and very firmly, in a way, disobey or go against the wishes of one's own father. But the Shastras are very clearly saying that whatever orders are given by the father or the spiritual master, it has to be followed in how to say it, complete surrender. And Prabhupada says that it should be followed with these words that, yes, sir, I will follow completely. So the essence of this instruction was practically shown by the Supreme Personality of Godhead when he was in this material world, as I mentioned in Krishna. So what he did was, towards the end of his education, he requests his spiritual master Sandipani Mani to accept any wishes, since he, being the personality of Godhead, will be able to satisfy. So here, initially, although his spiritual master does not ask for any benedictions, but upon insisting continuously by the Lord, he requests whether he will be able to bring back his son who was lost or who was dead. So, as this pastime goes, since nothing is impossible for the personality of Godhead, he goes in search of the son of his spiritual master, and he finds that he was taken away by one demon, and then he goes and fights with him, and then kills the demon, and he understands that he is there also, is not able to find the son. Finally, the supreme personality goes to the Yamaloka, meets Yamaraj, and then there he retrieves the son of Sandipani Muni and gives him back. So this says very clearly two things. One is how the supreme personality of God himself was completely obedient and surrendered to his spiritual master, and was ready to fulfill and go to any extent to satisfy his desires or needs. And the other one is when you are completely surrendered to the Supreme, by surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead only, you will be able to achieve the perfection in this life. So, one more explanation given here by Srila Prabhupada is, even if a person in this material world we see, if he is illiterate and if he is not materially opulent, but if he has faith in the spiritual master as well as in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then the meaning of scriptural revelation is immediately manifested before him. So, the moment a person is surrendered to the spiritual master, naturally he will have faith in the personality of Godhead. And by this way, all the injunctions of the Shastras will be revealed this way. And this was also shown by the South Indian Brahmin, as we all know the story of the South Indian Brahmin when Lord Chaitanya was in the southern part of India, and then where he met one Brahmin who was reciting from Bhagavad Gita. Although he was not knowing Sanskrit, he was continuously reciting from Bhagavad Gita with many mistakes. And people who are pandits who are assembled there were making fun of him. And that while he was reciting Bhagavad Gita, he had tears in his eyes, or continuously tears were falling from his eyes. So, seeing this scene, Lord Chaitanya calls him nearby and asks him why he is reciting Bhagavad Gita continuously, and is he sad because all the people around him is chastising him and making fun of him. But he says, my dear Lord, I am not at all unhappy because these people are chastising, because this is happening every day. I am not bothered about that. Then the Lord asks, then why you are sad? He says, I am not sad. While I am reciting Bhagavad Gita, although I am not at all educated, I am not able to read Bhagavad Gita well, I am still reciting it because my spiritual master gave me an order to do it. So, just to fulfill the instruction of the spiritual master, I am reading Bhagavad Gita, although I do not know anything in Sanskrit, etc. So now Chaitanya says, okay, you are reading, I can understand, but then why you are crying? Then he says that, when I am taking Bhagavad Gita in front of me, I see one form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead where he is standing as the, what do you call it, the driver of or the charioteer of Arjuna. And although he is the Supreme Lord himself, how merciful he is, Here we can see that when the charioteer is sitting and controlling the chariot, the person who is standing in the chariot has to instruct the charioteer by using his leg. So, so the personality of Godhead has come down to such a level where he's ready to serve the disciple with so much of affection and love. And seeing this, I am not able to control my emotions. So this scene of Krishna along with Arjun is always coming manifested in front of me. So when this is said, it is mentioned that Lord Chaitanya becomes so happy and immediately embraces this Brahmin, and he tells him that you are the person who has understood the essence of Bhagavad Gita in the right way. So all these instances or pastimes tell us that the material qualifications such as intelligence, knowledge, or beauty, or money, all other appearances have no importance in front of the Supreme Personality of God. So if one is surrendered to the spiritual master, he'll be able to do justice. So, Lord Brahma is asking here to give further instructions to Kardama, what he is expected to do. So, he is saying that he should give his daughters in marriage to the Maharshi. So, please give away your daughters to foremost of the sages. So, his expectation is that they should be given to the sages, and it is mentioned with due regard for the girls' temperaments and likings. So, although the instruction is coming from Lord Brahma to give them to the sages, but it is mentioned that it should be considered. So, Prabhupada here mentions that when the relationships are made, it has to be very carefully done, and we should understand when two persons are joining together whether their mindsets are matching or not. So here these words are used yatha shilam yatha ruchi in the shloka. So the daughters should be handed over to the respective rishis, not blindly, but according to the combination of character and taste. So Prabhupada further mentions that when a marriage happens, if it is happening with persons where they are they are in the mode of say goodness. So a mode of goodness person should marry only a person in the mode of goodness. And then similarly, a person who is in the mode of passion should marry a person in the mode of passion. Otherwise, it is very difficult that the relationships go in a good way. So that instruction is also given by Lord Brahma here. So further we see that Lord Brahma is giving an explanation of the appearance law of Lord Kapila. So by mystic yoga and practical application of knowledge from the scriptures, Kapila Muni, who is characterized by his golden hair, his eyes just like lotus petals, and his lotus feet, which bear the marks of lotus flowers, will uproot the deep-rooted desire for work in the material world. So one is the appearance, how the Lord appeared or how he looked like, mentioning that he had golden hair. So it's mentioned in Bhagavatam had a special appearance of the Lord, where his hair was all golden in nature, and then rest of the things are similar to the Lord's appearance in many other avatars, where his eyes were like lotus petals, his feet were also like lotus, and then which were also, though the feet were also bearing the marks of lotus flowers. And then the purpose of his appearance was to uproot the deep-rooted desire for work in this material world. So because conditioned souls in this material world have very, very, very deep-rooted desire to work here continuously and to enjoy the material world. And to uproot this, the Lord appeared. So we see the appearance of Lord, explanation of the appearance of Lord are seen by many devotees in Srimad Bhagavatam. So one of these appearance is the appearance of Lord, or the vision of the Lord as seen by the Dvijapatnis, which comes in the Bhagavatam, where the Brahmins were not ready to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Dvijapatnis, being simple-minded, who had heard about the Lord, they decided to go out and then serve the Lord when he arrived near their place of living along with his friends. So it is mentioned, Shyamam Hiranyaparithim Vanamalavarha Dhadu Pravala Nataveshamanupradamse Vinyasya Hastamidarena Dhunananabjam Karnotpalaalaka Kapola Mukhabjahasam. So it's very beautiful explanation here. Shyamam Hiranyaparithim. So his appearance was Shyamam. He was black in appearance, and then his dress, or his the dress he was wearing was Hiranyaparithim. It was very resplendent. It was very, how to say it, beautiful like gold. And then he was also wearing a vanamala. He was wearing a garland which was made by flowers from the forest. And he also had Barha, he had a peacock feather on his head. And then he also had a he looked like a how to say it expert dancer. That was his appearance. And then what did he do? He also had a Dhatu Praval. He also had dhatus on his face. Dhatus is something like crystal, which was adorning his face in a very beautiful way. So when we have the darshan of Lord in many places, we can see it that he is adorned with these crystals on his face very beautifully. So in further to this, he appeared like an expert dancer, and then he was resting one of his hands on the shoulder of one of the friends, and in the other hand he was holding one lotus flower which he was continuously rotating. And then further it is mentioned that his beautiful hair was long enough, and it was touching both his cheeks. And then in one of the years he was wearing one flower. So this beautiful explanation of the appearance of the Lord in front of Dvijapatnis, or as the Dvijapatnis are seeing the Lord, is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. And one more verse is a entry of the Lord into Vrindavan, where it is mentioned, Barhavitam Natavaravapuhu Karnayor Karnikaram Vipravasa Kamalakapi Kanagakapisham Vaijayantim Chamalam Randhran Venurathara Suthaya Purayan Gopa Vrindayir Vrindaranyam Swabadaramanam Pravishat Kita Kirti. This is also similar to the previous explanation of the darshan the Lord is given to Tijapatnis. When he's entering Vrindavan, how is the Lord looking like? Again, he was wearing a peacock feather on his head. He was wearing a very beautiful yellow dress. And then you had the Vaijanti Mala on his neck. And then he was also beautifully playing the lotus feet. So it is mentioned, Renthran, when the holes of the flute was filled with the nectar of his lips. And then all the gopas or his friends were praising him or glorifying his greatness. So all these explanations or the appearance of the Lord is explained by devotees or are seen by various devotees in Srimad Bhagavatam to attract the conditioned souls. And then we can also understand that depending upon the mood of the devotee or the conditioned soul or the personality or the devotee, one will be able to see the darshan of the Lord. Many places we can see that although Lord's appearance was so beautiful like this, demons like Kansa saw him in a different way. When Kansa was seeing or having the darshan of the Lord, he could not see the beauty of the Lord, but he saw that death personified is standing in front of us. I think I am able to connect to this before little bit getting little bit of understanding of Krishna consciousness or coming to this beautiful movement. How we used to see, Supreme Lord. Because one of my friends, I was remembering, he was already connected to Krishna consciousness while I was working, and in his DP in WhatsApp, he had put the form of Lord very beautifully, which was very blackish in form. So when I saw it first time, I was thinking why somebody is putting a very black, colored image in his DP. I could not even understand, who this is. And the initial feeling when I saw that form of the Lord was probably this is Shani or somebody, because my mode was more in that. I understood Shani and many other demigods, and this was the feeling. So eventually, after coming to Krishna consciousness, only I could understand that that is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in this way, depending upon our mood or our mindset or our uh, heart conditions, we are able to see the vision of the Lord. Although the Lord is always appearing in this beautiful way. Please move ahead. So, as per instruction of Kardama Muni, Brahma decides to hand over his 9 daughters to the various sages, and it is very detailedly mentioned here which sages got which uh, daughter of Kardama Muni. So after the departure of Brahma, Kardama Muni, having been ordered by Brahma, handed over his 9 daughters. And here how it is happened, his daughter Kala was handed over to Marichi. Another daughter, Anasuya, was given to Atri. Shraddha to Angira, then Havirpu to Pulastya, Gati to Pulaha, then Kriya to Kratu, Khyati to Bhrigu, Arindhati to Vasishta, and finally Shanti to Atharva. So this way, as per the instruction of Lord Brahma, he handed over all the daughters to the 9 sages, and it is also mentioned that they all became very very happy with this, and then they departed with the daughters. Now finally, all the responsibilities in a way of Kardama is completed now. Now he is approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is his own son. So when Kardamuni understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the chief of all the demigods, Vishnu, has descended, he approached him in a secluded place, offered obeisance and spoke to him. So here Kardama, although he knows, although the Lord has come as his son, he understands that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here he is offering obeisances to the Lord, and then telling him about his aspiration. So he says that after a long time, demigods of this universe have become pleased with the suffering souls who are in material entanglement because of their own misdeeds. So he says that with the how to say it, mercy of the Supreme Lord, you have come, because the demigods have prayed to you to appear in this material world, and by fulfilling those prayers, you have appeared in this world. So the here what we understand is the demigods are always working as the instruments in the hands of the Lord, being his devotees. And then we can also understand that if a materially entangled person has to get released from the suffering of this material world, demigods will never be able to give that ultimate relief. It can only come through the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although the demigods are always favorable and they act as instruments in the hands of the Lord. Uh, Here, one important fact which is mentioned is the Supreme Personality of God always increases the honor of his devotees. So Kardamuni says, you, my dear Lord, you are always increasing the honor of your devotees, have descended in my home just to fulfill your word and disseminate the process of real knowledge. So the two purposes he is saying here is that to fulfill the word given to Kardamuni. Here the Supreme Lord had mentioned that he will come as his son. That was one purpose. And then the bigger purpose was definitely to disseminate the knowledge, process of knowledge across this material world. And by doing this, here he is always honoring the devotee. And this we can see in the appearance of Lord in many other forms. He was always honoring his devotee Arjuna. Similarly, we can see when Lord appeared as Sri Ram, he was honoring many, many personalities like Lord Hanuman. Then we can see here in this pastime Guha, who was helping him to cross over the river, and there he was honoring him. And then we can also see that when Lord appeared in the womb of Mother Devaki and Vasudev, he also honored them, or he increased their honor many ways. So in all the appearance of the Lord, we can see one of his mood is how he can honor the devotees, pure devotees in all possible ways. This is the mode of the Lord. So here in this sloka, Kardama Muni is surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although he has appeared as his son. So he mentions that Param Pradhanam Purusham Mahantam Kalam Kavim Trivrutam Lokabalam Atmanubhutyanu Gada Prapancham Swa Chanda Shakti Kapilam Prapadye. So he's saying that I am surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has descended in the form of Kapila, who is independently powerful and transcendental, who is the Supreme Person and the Lord of the sum total of matter and element of time, who is fully cognizant maintainer of universe under the three modes of material nature, and who absorbs the material manifestation. So this is showing that a true disciple or a true pure devotee, although he understands the personality of Godhead as his own son, he has also realizing that he is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he surrenders unto him. So now, finally, Kadama seeks the permission of the Lord to accept the renounced order of life. Like we can see many, many devotees like Srila Prabhupada have taken the same activity. So here the Muni is saying, today I have something to ask from you. Since I have now been liberated from all the responsibilities, I wish to become a mendicant and move out. So this is the request which is given by Kardama. So now Lord is replying to Kardama's request. So the personality of Godhead, Kapila said, whatever I speak, whether directly or in the scriptures, is authoritative in all respects for people of the world, O Muni, because I told you before that I would become your son, I have descended. So the Lord is telling the again from his own Lord's mouth the purpose of his appearance. When one question may come, while somebody has the supreme personality of Godhead himself as a son, why should he take the renounced order of life? So here it is mentioned that one must leave his family life and enter the forest after the age of 50. This is the instruction of the Shastras, as Prabhupada is explaining. This is an authoritative statement from the Vedas also. So based on the division of social life in these four departments, which is Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. So every person who has entered the Grihastha life is expected to move into Vanaprastha and finally into the Sannyasa order of life. So here, Kardama Maharshi is showing, in spite of him having Supreme Personality of Godhead as his own son, to set an example, he is taking this decision to leave everything and then take the life of a mendicant and then lead a secluded life and then with the aim of finally attaining the Supreme Personality. So here we can understand that the Yuga Dharma is in Kali Yuga, the injunction is not one should not accept sannyasa. So this is again mentioned by Prabhupada in the purports so that people don't get misdirected. So in general, Kali Yuga says that nobody should accept sannyasa. But again, Prabhupada says, of course, those who are actually follow the rules and regulations must take sannyasa. So these two sentences are written side by side. So the general instruction, people cannot take sannyasa in Kali Yuga because they do not have the capability to fulfill the rules and regulations. But one who is able to do that, they should naturally take sannyasa, and that is the best way to be able to achieve the Supreme Personality. So generally, however, people are unable to accept sannyasa life, and therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given this instruction that Kalau nasti, eva nasti, eva nasti, eva gatiranyatha, or the only way is the chanting of the name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is given by the Supreme Lord Himself in the form of Chaitanya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this is mentioned as Yuga Dharma here. So again, further, Lord is explaining the purpose of his incarnation, and he has come to this material world to give this Sankhya philosophy to the world, and then protect the world, and then disseminate the lack of knowledge here. So similarly, we can see in this shloka, Lord is saying that the path of self-realization, which is difficult to understand, has now been lost in due course of time. So please know that I have assumed this body of Kapila to introduce and explain this philosophy again. So same approach we see in Bhagavad Gita also, where the Lord is saying that evam parampara pratam imam rajeshyo vitu sakalene mahata yogo nashtabta parantava. So from this we can understand that time and again this knowledge of the parampara or the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is getting lost, and whenever that is happening, the Personality of Godhead arrives and then reinstall this knowledge to everybody continuously. So also the understanding from this. So finally, Lord is giving permission to Kardama that he can leave now. And in addition to this instruction to his father, he's also mentioning that now I will also ensure that the mother will be protected, because this was one thought in the heart of Kardama as a good husband, that how his wife will be protected. So here the Lord is giving him total clarity that now I will also instruct my mother so that she will become perfect in self-realization. So this in this way, Kardama also gets a complete reassurance, and he fulfills all his needs as a grihastha, and then moves into the forest. So he leaves for the forest, and then he lives a secluded life as a wandering mendicant, and then it is mentioned that in due course of time he attains the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this way, we are coming to the end of this beautiful chapter. Although I could only explain in a very limited way, I thought a few takeaways from this I could understand is, as we already saw, the ideal life of a husband and wife in this material world, how a family life should be led in the proper way. Although there is limited amount of enjoyment is allowed, once the time comes, a person should be able to disconnect, and especially the husband has the bigger responsibility to direct the dependent wife and everybody, all the children, towards the Lord. Then, how to fulfill a man's responsibility while fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness? Although a person is leading a grihastha life along with the family, he still is absorbed in Krishna all the time, in spite of his duties and responsibilities. So, this is one very huge takeaway for all of us, to try to utilize this knowledge in our lives. Then another very important point which comes up is spiritual master's order should be taken as one's life and soul. That is the only way to move towards a spiritual life and get the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And finally, following the injunctions from the scriptures, even when one has the Lord as his son. This is another thing. A person, an ideal disciple, has the responsibility to stand up as an example for the rest of the world. So that responsibility is not going away, even though one has had the blessing of getting the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his own son. So these are some of the few takes away I thought we can take from this lesson. Thank you so much for listening to me patiently. I humbly pray for your mercy, and then sorry if I have done any mistakes. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनन्तकोटि